What attracted me to the Leeds Festival of Ideas was actually just about the chance to speak to a different set of people, be connected. It's as much about, on a panel, giving your view of the world, but also listening to other people. And the session on sport is really important to me, about, what responsibility does sport have to give back? Yes, I absolutely believe it does, but it's also quite complicated. It's not quite as easy as just saying yes. Back in 2000, Nelson Mandela said sport has the power to change the world, and sport has the power to do some incredible things, and sports people do as well. But it's as much about educating sports people to understand the environment they're going into, because obviously some people might have this idea to change the world and do really good things, but that might not suit the environment they're trying to change. So it is about co-creation. It's about understanding what you're trying to do and understanding the responsibility that comes with being an athlete. So I do think there is a responsibility, but not everybody wants it, and nor everyone should feel that they have to. But I firmly believe if we educate younger athletes as they come through, we open their minds to the whole world, it's important for them to understand the role they play. But there's big challenges coming for athletes, coming through now. Environmental challenges, travelling the world, qualification, things that we didn't think about when we were competing because the world was in a different place. So I think there's an expectation. And there's some sports people who've done amazing things, and there's some who just want to keep their head down and compete, and kind of both's okay as long as they're doing it with the right intention. Sport is really complicated, and there are definitely these incredible inspirational moments that happen. And if you talk to any athlete, just about everyone I know will say they saw something as a child and they had the aspiration to do it, and it led them to do it. And then, there's that connection. But it's also quite complicated. So there's something in disability sport called inspiration porn, and it's about some of the coverage that we get and the way we're talked about. And it's about, being brave and marvellous. Now, I'm not brave and marvellous because I get out of bed in the morning, but some people, that's a really difficult thing to do. So there's lots of challenges in terms of how we cover disability sport, how we talk about it, and the attachment we put around athletes as well. So I think there are some sports that are better placed to do it. Sports like football and cricket, who attract millions of people to play, but also are those international federations best placed to try and change the world. So you'd love to think that they were, but there's challenges in that with all the different jurisdictions that they're in. So, I think a lot of it is, when young people come into sport, it's kind of being clearer with them about what the expectation on them should be in terms of how they should behave, especially if they become famous. Because I think there is something that if you become well known as an athlete, then you do have almost a duty to behave in a certain way. But that can be challenging as well. So, for the people who love sport, they want to engage with it. There's lots of people there who think sport's a waste of time and don't get that connection. So I love to see athletes giving back, doing amazing things, and just trying to make life better for the next group of youngsters coming through. So when you look at somebody like Marcus Rashford, who I personally believe's done some amazing things, he could have raised that money in a completely different way. But he went out there with a strong moral conviction and talking about personal experience, which is always hard to do. So I've definitely had in my career, stick to sport, you shouldn't have an opinion. It was like, well, I have a right to an opinion as much as anyone. I have opinion on everything, but it doesn't mean to say all those opinions should be public. So I think it's learning when to pick and choose. And the challenge is, if you have a platform as an athlete and you speak out, there'll be people who love you for it and there'll be people who don't love you for it. So it's also understanding some of the flack you're going to get for having a public opinion, as well as understanding that you can change people's lives. So it's fascinating when people tell sports people to stick to sport, because it's usually the people who don't agree with their opinions or don't agree with the fame or the way they're using their fame to bring about change. So I always find it interesting when it's politicians tell other people to not have a political opinion, when actually we should be encouraging everyone to think about the wider world and think about what their opinion would be on some of these really important matters. Sporting icons have an amazing ability to get people to think differently, whether that's about inclusion or rights or whatever it is. And I think there's some useful lessons that politicians can learn about the following that sports people have. And I say that as an athlete who's now a politician. It's actually, we all need to learn to get on better with each other in terms of levers to pull to bring about positive change for society. So it's always interesting in terms of people who think they're really important and people who think they should have influence, and they're not always sports people.